Hello, everybody, and welcome to Everything But the Podcast. This is episode number 7. I'm your host, Tonysaurus Rex, and in just a few moments, we're going to be joined by underground rap legend Kung Fu Vampire. We're going to be talking all about his album Come Dawn, as well as travel all the way back to the past on his first album, which is called Spacebar, from what I originally thought was 1999, but it actually came out in 2000. I guess there was like some kind of issue digitally where they say it's 1999, but really the album came out in 2000. But we find out that Kung Fu Vampire was a teenager when this album comes out, and we find out about where he's at today as compared to back then, and a lot of other cool things. And of course, we talk all about Come Dawn. We talk about the album art, the features, and everything in between. It's a really fun interview. I had a blast. I think you guys will enjoy it. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and throw it away to the interview with Kung Fu Vampire. All right, we're going to get into all about Come Dawn in just a minute. But first, I want to ask you about Spacebar, which was your first album. We were talking about, you said it came out in the year 2000. What was the thought process like for a young Kung Fu Vampire? And do you have any memories or fond memories from your first album and your first tour?
So my first album, Spacebar, year 2000, was originally released under a different artist name with a group that I was in. A lot of them decided to have kids young and had other stuff going on. And halfway through the record, it ended up kind of being a solo record. Spent a lot of time by myself in the studio on that one with different engineers. And, by the time it came out, it was pretty much a solo record. And when I had re-released it on digital, during the digital era, I wanted to make sure Kung Fu Vampire fans could find my pre-Kung Fu records. So we released it under Kung Fu Vampire so it wouldn't be gone forever. And, I was a teenager then. And so it was definitely interesting. I had a lot of energy, a lot of drive. Was a professional athlete, so I was just jacked all the time, just jacked on energy. And yeah, dude, I was very fun. We were merging electronica with gangster rap with that Bay Area sound out here in the Bay. And, it was a fun record. It took me a long time to do that one. A lot of grueling hours in the studio.
And how much would you say for you has changed from like 99 to like what you're doing now?
Well, damn, I was a kid then. And sound wise, I've always pushed the envelope. Funny thing is, people always say I'm changing and stuff. I've actually never changed my style from day one. I've always evolved. But even my first album had, dark vibes, a lot of orchestral stuff, electronica, gangster rap, and to this day I still have the same vibes. I just think the overall quality just keeps getting better and better and better.
Right, and that probably comes with like better equipment as time went along and stuff like that as well.
A lot of factors, definitely.
Now, when the listeners hear this, Come Dawn will have already released, but at the time we're talking about it, it's not released, so unfortunately I can't talk to you about any of the songs yet because the album's not out.
Hey Rexy fam, Tonysaurus Rex calling you here from the future. You need to go out and get Kung Fu Vampire's Come Dawn immediately. Jestro has taken over the future because not enough people were checking out this amazing and epic album, and Jestro taking over anything is not a good sign. Shut up, Tonysaurus Rex. Everybody knows I was always the main star. Now I'm just ruling the world too. You can't get enough of me. Like I said, guys, Jestro is taking over from the future. He's causing chaos. He's out of control. He's got a whole army. Hey, quit giving my secrets away, man. He's got a whole army spewed across the universe, taking over everything. So make sure you guys go out and buy Come Dawn before you're forced to live in this Jestro-infused future that nobody will enjoy. Everybody enjoys it. Now I'm going to have to kill you off, and then you won't be able to talk bad about me anymore. But buy the album anyway. It is an amazing album.
How did you come up with the concept of the album?
There's 2 songs that are out, so the 1986 song and Love at First Fight are both available at the time of this interview as well. And those are both when people pre-order the record, they're able to get the first 2 songs or two free songs through iTunes. But yeah, the concept, dude, I always a lot of my albums have a lot to do with yin and yang and balance, dark and light. And I'm very deep in my concepts. Sometimes people don't realize what I'm doing. Some other people are pretty deep and they get it. I'm always excited and surprised when people understand my elaborate concepts. In this case, my last 4 or 5 releases, every release is a play on words. So I don't release albums that aren't a play on words, pretty much. This album being Come On is actually a triple play on words. Look Alive was a play on words, and also all these titles are very similar in length. So you've got Dead, Sexy, then you had Love Bites, then you had Look Alive, now you have Come Dawn. Almost all the same amount of letters. Almost all of them are a play on words between sex and death, or vampirism and romance. You know what I mean? They all are a play on words between romantic and evil. And that's kind of how my stuff has gone from day one. Even with Spacebar, it was the album cover style and the concept was all about the new millennium because it was the year 2000. So it was about space and aliens and the computer era. So hitting the spacebar obviously was what a lot of people think of first, but then we portrayed a bar that was in space in the album. So Spacebar was the first play on words, and the next one was Bloodbath Beyond.
Right.
Goes without having to describe. Then you've got the classic record that a lot of people think of as our first album is Dead Sexy. Then you've got Love Bites, Look Alive, and now Come Dawn. And they actually go in order of how I've been feeling at the time that I was making these records. So it's just crazy, man. It's just a really interesting way of doing it, you know?
Yeah, I was just about to say that too. Like whenever you read them in the order that how they came out, the titles almost all flowed together too. Like it was almost like one massive story between the titles alone, which is kind of cool too.
I'm trying to tell a saga, and it's funny because it's literally my whole life. It's my whole life. It's not like a trilogy or a 4 songs or 5 videos or few years of things. It's literally teenager to 30s, and I like to tell a longer, bigger story, not just a concept. You know, a lot of people. I remember I had a bandmate, and we were trying to create a band that was forever. You know, it was long term.
Right.
And he said, I'd love to join the band for this project. And I said, what do you mean? And he would say, it was one of a drummer friend of mine, and he said, I'd love to be the drummer for this Kung Fu Vampire project. I go, this isn't a project. This is like for forever. We're like going to do this for like 10, 20, 30, 40 years. He's like, oh, okay. It's just like, I just don't think like that. And it's cool. There's no problem with people who think like that. But, this isn't a concept, man. This isn't a fucking satirical moment in time. This is a long-term saga, storytelling and evolution of this character and this being. And we're also doing the same thing with the Red Box. For anybody who's seen our music videos by now, if you don't know the Red Box, you definitely are not a fan. You're definitely not paying attention because it's in pretty much all of my videos. So, we're doing the same thing with that. There's a story of a Red Box being told. It's being passed around in all of my videos, and it's taken quite a while. It's been since 2010 or 11 we've been showing that box. So
I was going to segue into that too, asking about if you were planning on doing music videos for the new album, which obviously you are because you were just talking about it.
We have about 5 video concepts for different videos. We have shot one already with the amazing X-Rated, who is free from prison after 26 years. He was convicted of first-degree murder and was released about 10 months ago. And so him and I did the video. Great friend of mine, great guy. He's pushing positive energy since his release. And that song is called My Turn. And it comes out September 13th, the day of my album release party. So big stuff going on, and we're going to be shooting 1986 video and a few other.
That's insane. 26 years. And then he comes out and he's shooting video with you. That's pretty cool to be able to come out of a situation like that and turn it into something positive.
100%. He's going full steam. He's crushing it, spreading positivity with his Hug Life movement. And it's great, man. X-Rated is something else.
I also want to talk about the album art, which you have revealed currently. I want to talk about maybe a little bit what went into the album art, because I'm looking at it right now and I'm seeing some pretty. I know you've mentioned about the '80s and like the neon vibes, but like when you look at your sunglasses in it, I see what looks like a dragon, which automatically appeals to me. It's just a really cool album art. So I wanted to get a chance to talk about it.
Thank you, man. I love it. Gentleman in Russia did it, and I'm just blown away, because we tried a few different content, and none of them really. I got some covers back that I liked, but it wasn't what I was expecting. The thing is right. Other than Reanimated, I've always been on the cover in a photo, so it was going to be harder for me to. Because, if we do that, we definitely would have got what we wanted from a photo just because we would have taken 1,500 or 10,000 or 500 shots, right? That's when they do an album cover with the photo. You almost can't go wrong if you know what you're doing.
Right.
Look Alive, Love Fight, Dead Sexy, Bloodbath. Those are all real photos. So that was why I was a little pickier on this one. And then finally when it was done, I was like, wow, this is exactly what I want. The cover looks exactly like what I look like these days. It's just cool, And it's showing retrofuturism, and people may or may not understand this, but in the 90s and probably earlier, I think it was built in the 50s, there was a bunch of motels around Disneyland that all had the retrofuturism vibe. And that was one of my fondest memories as a kid in the 90s, or whenever I went to Disneyland, seeing those buildings. And so we kind of showed that same style in the background on the cover. It is my fondest memories, going to LA, going to Disneyland, staying in those little retro motels, and then hitting Disneyland for 16 hours or 12 hours, So
right.
That's something we showed on there, and I've got some subliminal things on there. People can find them or not.
Yeah, and it really is it's so detailed, which I think also the fact that it's not like a photo, but it looks almost like comic booky or almost like a painting makes it stand out also.
Right. I agree. It's cool. I'm happy with it.
I even get vibes. I don't know if you play video games or not, but there was a game that came out a while ago called Far Cry 3, and its DLC had it was called Blood Dragon, and this kind of reminds me of that a little bit with all like the neon colors and stuff that they did for that, because it was like a futuristic action style. So it kind of gave me hints from whenever I played that.
Is it called Far Cry 3?
Yeah, Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. It was the DLC for it that they did. They did like an 80s. It was like 80s, but futuristic at the same time.
Right.
And it was really cool. And the neon in it reminded me of that.
Oh, it really does. Yeah. I'm looking at it right now. Far
Cry that's why it stood out.
When did this come out? 2012.
Yeah, it came out a while ago.
So my Nightmare Walking shirt was the first 80s thing that I was really heavy into other than the 80s music. And that was in about 2014 that we put that out. Really, the 80s vibe wasn't being done yet. Nobody was doing it. I put that out, and I've just seen it blow up since. I just was a little ahead on doing it. But now I see everybody, not everybody, but there's some people doing it, which is great. I'm just glad, and I hope nobody in the underground does it, because it's really nobody in the underground doing it. I was the first one, pretty much.
Right.
So I'm hoping it stays out, because I really like it. I latched onto it and became addicted to it.
Right. I would just say the 80s is like an era that you kind of enjoyed. Like, I know with the 80s, like, there's a lot of horror movies that, at least I think, like, Puppet Master and stuff like that, were the 80s and stuff like that, I remember as being some really cool movies.
I know, Hellraiser, Freddy Krueger, Nightmare, all that, 80s. The shit that we all worship is from the 80s. I just got into it, just in the last 5 years, and I love it. It's so fun, It's really fun.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is I often find myself, like, I'll watch new stuff too, but I often find myself going back to those 80s horror films that I remember from, like, my childhood and stuff. Now, I grew up in the 90s, so I was born in 87, but it was still the 80s movies that I was watching.
Yeah, like I said, I didn't like the 80s stuff in the 2000s, but now I see the appeal, because it always seemed cheesy to me. My parents were listening to that type of music and stuff, and I just was like, And even in the 90s and 2000s, 80s music was still, it's not like today where the turnover's fast. They were still playing 80s music in the 90s. That was very common.
Yeah, I don't think I listened to a lot of the pop, but a lot of, like, the 80s metal, like the Iron Maiden and stuff like that was what I was raised on. So that always stood out.
Yeah, I like Metallica and some of the harder stuff, and the 80s, late 80s rap and early 90s rap I liked a lot. But then now I like the poppy stuff. Kind of weird.
Yeah, it's kind of just one of those things where it kind of develops. Like a recent kind of music I discovered recently is like 8-bit music. Like there's a group that takes like modern like artists and stuff and it just turns their entire song into like an 8-bit instrumental, so it sounds like retro video game music, and it's really cool. That's something I've recently gotten into.
I have heard of some of that, and I do like it. There's actually a group called 8-Bit Symphony or 8-Bit something that I was listening to.
Yeah, the one I like is 8-Bit Universe. They do an entire album that's like a tribute to Metallica, and it's like all their Metallica's hits in 8-bit, which is pretty cool.
Ooh, that sounds dope.
It's amazing. I'll send you an email later with because it's on like Amazon Music, Spotify, all that stuff. If you just look up, I think it's called Master of Pixels. Correction here for any listeners: the Master of Pixels album is actually created by the Greatest Bits, not by any 8-Bit Universe. I just wanted to make that quick correction so that you guys would know in case you wanted to look up the album. I'm pretty sure it's the name of the album. You can find it on all that stuff.
Master of Pixels? I love it already.
I know, it's so genius.
Yeah, that's great.
Now, we're running out of time here, but I do want to hit you with another question. I know you're going to be doing touring to promote the album and stuff like that. Are there any specific dates or locations that you can provide that you're the most excited for?
Yeah, the Come Dawn tour starts September 13th, Friday the 13th, in San Jose. And we actually go from there for almost 2 months. We're doing 7 weeks. And we go, I'm excited for everywhere on this one because we haven't been to a lot of these places in a couple years, if not more. So we're doing all the way to Maine. We're doing the East Coast. We're doing New England, doing the Midwest. I'm always excited for Vegas because we usually end our tours in Las Vegas and I stay and hang out a couple extra days and I just love it. I just love it. So I'm always excited about Vegas. Salt Lake City is like my home away from home. They were the first people to really show me love. So I'm really hype on, heading back there where the fan base is thick and people got love for us. Denver is always a big bonus.
That stood out to me whenever you mentioned Maine, because that's like way up, especially from where you're at. Like if you're ending in Vegas and you're going all the way to Maine, that's a pretty rough travel schedule, I would think.
Yeah, we're going to go across the northern United States all the way to the east. To New England, then we're going to go down the East Coast, and we're going to zigzag back to the Midwest. It's just like a click, 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 go, 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 But, if you guys want the up-to-date tour dates, you just go to kungfuvampire.com. Everything is there. It's up to date. And of course, follow me on Instagram. Everything online is at Kung Fu Vampire. So there's no weird stuff to remember. And, people can download the album to whatever digital carrier they want, or they can go to kungfuvampire.com, get it right off the front page. Boom, bam, I send them out myself.
Now, I do want to hit another question now before I forget. I know you've released the track list as well. Are you able to talk about like any of those features that you have?
Oh yeah, it features some really good friends of mine, some people that I love. Pulling up the track list right off the bat. It does feature my buddies, my close friends, Gorilla Voltage, X-Rated, as I had said, Futuristic, who's a huge artist, Dirtbag Dan, who's a legendary battle rapper and stand-up comedian from my city, from San Jose, my buddy One Ton from Potluck, Buckshot, The Joker, Mars, Dickles, C-Mob, and K-Dabber are all on one posse track at the end of the album. And of course, DJ Clay is scratching on Neighborhood. So it's a fun group of friends of mine on the record.
Yeah, it's like one heck of a put together album with that many people on it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And what would you say, if there's any song in particular, what would you think would maybe a song off the album that would be a highlight that you think people will really just get excited about?
Honestly, there's a good handful of them. I get excited about a song called Baddies. But 1986 is probably going to be the big single, just from hearing the responses and things. That seems to be the one that gets people the most. It's the first track on the record. So It's gonna smash, man. This record's gonna do really well. I'm excited. I worked very, very hard. I took the longest route possible to get to where I'm at. So, I hope people appreciate what we're doing and enjoy this Come Dawn record. I think everybody's ready to get Come Dawn,
Yeah, I think everybody's just ready to get a new Kung Fu Vampire album, and then I think they're really going to enjoy it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's coming out at a good time, too, because they're getting ready to do that new season of American Horror Story, which is like an 80s slasher from what I've seen, too. So whenever you said 1986, it made me think how they're getting ready to do that as well.
An 80s slasher, huh? I got to check that out.
I saw about it on Instagram. I think it's called 1980 something. I don't remember the exact, but it's called one of the years from the 80s, and it's going to be like a slasher style.
What? Oh, I'm looking this up right now.
I missed the last two seasons, but that one I remember caught my attention.
So I've only seen 2 seasons, and I saw what was the first season? Was it The House?
Yeah, the first one was The House, and then I think the second one was The Asylum.
I saw part of The Asylum. I saw all of House, and I saw all of Hotel.
Yeah, I think Hotel I saw some of it. There's so many of them that I get confused trying to think of them. I know like Cult, and then the one after that, I think I didn't see either of those. And then the other ones were like bits and pieces. 1984, that's what it's called. American Horror Story. Ooh, 1984.
Man, that 80s shit is blowing up, man. I'm glad I jumped on it early. I really enjoy it. I was hoping nobody would get into it when I first started doing it, but damn. Hey,
but it's kind of funny though when you think about it, because like your album's coming out in 1986, and then they're doing that one 1984. So it kind of that's what drew my attention to it. Is the 80s are trying to come back. People are remembering the fond memories of the 80s.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
All right, man. Well, that's about all the time we have tonight, but I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to give you a chance to throw out any shout outs or any of the links that you want to leave for the listeners before we get off, and then we'll bid you adieu.
Hey, man. Appreciate it. Everything just at Kung Fu Vampire, kungfuvampire.com. The new album is called Come Dawn, COME space DAWN. Go get it. Be about it. Grab it, love it, live it. You won't be disappointed. Thank you for having me, Tonysaurus Rex. Oh, man. Appreciate you, bro.
Hey, it's been fun, man. I'll have to have you again on. Look at me. It's so late. I'm backing up my words. I have to have you on again sometime. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
For sure, man. Much love and respect.
Much love and respect back at you. And you have a good night.
You too. Peace.